All right, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Game number 1 in a brand new best of 3 kicking it off. Flosh's power went out, donated $5 while I was BRB, I guess. So I'm sure that'll have a donation that I'm not allowed to read on stream. But thank you so much, and I hope your power comes back. But spawning here on the bottom right side of Freon Terraces, he's red. He's one of my current favorite Protoss players. It's going to be the red Protoss on Fire's Neeb.
And up in the top left, a player that's not quite as well known, but still on the up and coming. Give it up for the blue Zerg, PandaBearMe.
Now, both of these players have had notable runs, not just today, but recently through the whole WCS Ladder Challenger. A big aspect of that was qualifying through the ladder. So I'm positive these two probably hit each other several times while trying to grind out that rank just to get invited in the first place. And then on top of that, you've got the North American crowd's smaller than it was in the past. There's a very low chance these two have never seen each other. You mentioned getting into this. PandaBearMe had a bit of cockiness, saying like, yeah, poor Neeb, like he's going to lose. Maybe that'll be the case, maybe it won't. My eyes are on Neeb for this, though, because he's impressed me so much through his PvP. He's impressed me through so much through his PvT, but we haven't really seen any PvZ out of him. And we don't know if this will be his kryptonite or not.
Yeah, I mean, that is kind of fair. I know that he does complain about Zerg quite a bit, or he at least
every Protoss does right now. Every race,
yeah, I mean,
even Zerg complains about Zerg right now.
Yeah, Zergs are kind of just, they're beyond the point where they complain about it. They're just kind of like, yeah, I'm sorry.
It's like, for example, Scarlet started streaming recently, right? This has been kind of hype. Everyone's been discussing. A lot of people were hanging out and watching. But also, when you watch Scarlet stream, it's like 9 hours of ZVZ only. And a big part of that is like Zerg is just in a great spot right now. You can discuss balance and statistics for hours if you'd like, but at the end of the day, there's a lot more Zerg at the top of ladder in a lot of these weekly cups. Despite the fact that we're seeing people like Neeb win the Ladder Challenger and the WCS Spring Invitational and all of this, we're still seeing majority Zergs all over the place. And not without good reason. They are getting pretty good wins left and right.
With that being said, I will say that PandaBearMe, I know more recently, has not done as well versus Protoss players. He's lost 3-0 to Bales, I think it was just 2 days ago during the regional challenge.
Really? Wow.
And he also lost 2-1 to Pili, or I think earlier on, like a week or two ago, in some weekly cup. It was like ESL or Filthy Cup or something like that. So I know that PandaBearMe is not feeling as, or doesn't look as good in the matchup as he does in like ZVZ or ZVT. Oddly enough.
This is Freon Terraces after all, and one of the big things I'm keeping an eye on right now, and a little bit surprised to see is they're taking that third base so quickly, whether PandaBearMe takes this to an all-in or if he wants to actually play macro off of it. I would say it's honestly pretty close to 50-50 on players we see that just wanted Ravager, Roach all in, and abuse the map. We've also seen a fair amount of players, though, who will play that macro game all the way out, get lurkers. I mean, every goddamn time we play Guru, he's making 20 lurkers at a time. So we've seen all kinds of this. But, again, a lot of that doesn't come from PandaBearMe. This is like me seeing fresh eyes on a brand new player. And I'm excited to see what happens. He does go for a Baneling Nest, though. We saw Hydra was doing a lot of this. Right, yeah. He rolled over Pili with Banelings, but then fell apart later on versus Puck. So, Banelings are interesting to say the least, but I don't know whether this will be a good gamble or not.
I feel like the more that I see these Banelings, is I think the way that you described it is actually really accurate, where sometimes it rolls over a Protoss player, and sometimes it just gets absolutely, completely shut down. And I think a lot of it comes down to the particular Protoss player and their playstyle for the unit composition. So a lot of Protoss players are foregoing things like some of those sentries. A lot of Protoss players aren't really prepared for the big Baneling hits, and they don't really do a good job of like splitting up their units like Adepts and everything. But Neeb is one of the players that plays against Scarlet a lot, and I will say I have seen him play versus Scarlet's Banelings. I've seen him slowly, gradually get better against them. This is going to be a bit hard to make work.
This is a big scout. The Adepts probably shouldn't transfer, and he sees the Banelings. Now, for those who don't know why we're making such a big deal about this, it's not like watching Banelings roll into Marines. It's not going to be ever a massacre. But the point of it is, Adepts are light units. Oh, that was a pretty good split at the last second out of Neeb. Transfer goes through, and he will escape the Lings, but only into more Lings. So this doesn't end up working for him. But at the same time, the cost to clean up these Adepts is almost greater for PandaBearMe than it was for Neeb to lose them in the first place. In fact, 25 resources differentiate the two right now. Because PandaBearMe, while it doesn't get tracked properly on resources lost, had to give away so much gas through those banelings in order to actually make those work.
Yeah, and it's about the fact that there's still a follow-up, so it's not just like PandaBearMe can move across the map and try and contest this third expansion. No, he has to deal with the Adept harassment. He's finally getting out a Hydralisk Den, and I say finally, but it is actually a pretty fast Hydralisk Den.
I like the control here, by the way. Dancing on the low ground, dancing on the high ground, turns 4 Adepts that should have just probably traded out evenly with Lings into actually dominating forces. He's going to try and warp in a couple more. He doesn't have a whole lot to work with when it comes to warp-ins, but that Warp Prism does stay alive. Now, the Hydras are on deck, but the Hydras are also very susceptible to the Adept damage, so this is still not a great situation for PandaBearMe. Meanwhile, more Adepts actually transfer... Oh, sorry, the same Adepts, excuse me, transfer through to the natural. Thought it was different ones. I was like, oh man, that's a lot. The Warp Prism gets sniped at the main. Queen's getting focused down, and this looks like this might just be the end of the attack. But this got 12 drone kills and disrupted a lot of mining, and this wasn't too bad out of Neeb. 17 now, 18 at the end of it.
It went really well for Neeb, but there is a Spire finishing up as well as the Hydralisk now out, so there's a potential for maybe some counterattacking, but look, the Spire finishes up and there's no gas to spend on Mutalisk, so the Spire is basically just going to be additional dead weight that maybe could have gone into additional units for this big aggression.
Well, I think one of the things that we're seeing commonly is this more of like a transition later on. Like, you'll see the Hydras now, you'll see Lings, and you'll try and get some units baited out of Neeb, and then when you see that Neeb has all Zealots with Charge and Immortals and Disruptors, then you make the 8 Mutas, then you make the 12 Mutas. Going for them right off the bat, that's like, hey man, please, make a bunch of Phoenix and counter me. So, I mean, PandaBearMe is kind of, I think, doing this a little too quick.
I would agree with that. I think that's probably a good way to put it. Like, it's going too fast, or it's going too slow. It's like one of the two, and he's sort of in this in-between zone where he's trying to make Hydrals and he's trying to make the Mutalisk, but the Mutalisk are going to be coming out after 3 or 4 Phoenix are already out, after, you know, Stalkers are maybe warped in, or at least some additional energy on that Mothership Core is out.
Well, plenty of gateways finishing up, and I like that they have a couple of pylons powering each of these sections. This seems to be the only real victim of a potential Artosis pylon. Outside of this, though, I mean, not only is it a lot of pylons for overcharges, but again, just powering these buildings to make sure they don't get sniped by the Mutas. The Observer is... Wait, he's chasing it, but... Oh, there's the Overseer. What's he planning to do about it? Muta's flying across the map. He really hasn't made that many, but he is investing into them. I mean, there's upgrades going into them already. There's 4 Phoenix in play. It's not going to be hard for Neeb to get more after this. In fact, he's already got to pounce on these in PandaBearMe. Oh, no. He just gives away such expensive units.
They're not even together. Sometimes if you have those Mutalisks, you can at least do the back and forth kind of motion, pick off a Phoenix here and there, but losing one at a time, there's no way you can really contest it. And I don't know, like, do you think that at this point, PandaBearMe, should just go into Lurkers and try and make that kind of magic happen that you were talking about earlier?
I don't know, man. Like, this is a tough spot for PandaBearMe no matter what he wants to do. Not only did he not do any damage, and not only did he give away to the Mutas, he's given up a lot of timing, which I think is the most important aspect of this. Maybe a bit of lag for Neeb. Are you hosting this on Central, by the way? Okay, yeah, we are. I was going to say, though, going forward, one of the problems, like, okay, there's charge lots, they'll be met with banelings, maybe that goes well for PandaBearMe. But at the end of the day, there's still so many disruptors behind this. The Lurkers, speaking in timing, the Lurkers might not even be ready for this fight, what few there may be to be had. Well,
Mutalisk are coming on into the natural expansion and gonna get a lot of damage done, surprisingly enough. The Phoenixes are very far out of position. Well, 6 workers killed, not massive, but...
It's not worth the trade of Mutas at all. He was every Muta for 10 workers.
But the Mutalisks were effectively sentenced to die with this many Phoenix out on the map anyways, right?
I guess, but I mean, I don't know. I think I'd rather have seen us pick up a Warp Prism in the middle of an engagement or dive through for a Disruptor or something, not... be given away for a small amount of probes. But either way, the Phoenix count now presents a bigger problem than it did moments ago because he knows there's no threat through Mutas anymore. He can get aggressive on the other side of the map and immediately pounces on Queens, so he's coming across to pick off things like drones. There's so few Hydras, actually, he may be able to just pick them up. In fact, what little Hydras there were just became Lurkers, so now there's actually no anti-air.
That's a bit of an oversight from PandaBearMe. He's really going to need to completely clean up the ground army. if he wants to actually make sure he can get out enough Hyduls to deal with these these Phoenix. Well, he's got 15 Banelings. He's got all the Lurkers that he wants. He's going to be moving on in, trying to put some pressure on. You can burrow these Lurkers on the low ground with some high ground vision. He could do some damage, but here we go. Big
Disruptors on clumped Lurkers. It takes 2 shots for a Lurker. If you spread them out, you buy a lot of time, but having them clumped like that was devastating. And Archon's going to get picked off. That kind of sucks. Meanwhile, the Phoenixes could fly back, and with how few Lurkers there are, you can actually just scoop them up out of the ground.
There's also Zealot harassment on the other side of the map, absolutely cleaning up a lot. Banelings being used over there instead of over at the front lines. He had to pull back all of his Banelings. I was wondering where they were. They have none of them have made it into this army engagement.
Neeb, by the way, this is not his first time tussling with Lurkers on mass, and he deals with this really well. That third base might be in a bit of trouble. Fourth base, not so problematic. I mean, high ground vision actually provided by the Overseer lets him still chip away at it, but the immortal count's too low to just A-move into this, so I like that Neeb's playing it back. He's got to take losses in the process, and that sucks, because he has to take those losses, but in doing so, buys some more time to get an appropriate composition. We got Oracles coming down for Revelation, because he knows he can't rely on Observers. Phoenixes can now start diving in and picking up these units, which are, again, not protected by Hydras. There's no anti-air for this Fear Dragon. He's made too many Lurkers.
And this is an all-in at this point. PandaBearMe is down to 30 workers. He doesn't even have an army. It's 21. Why did 100?
Yo, do cocoons stop morphing while they're midair? Did that just happen? I don't know if we've ever looked into this.
I don't think they stopped morphing, but maybe.
It looked like the bars stopped moving. That's something to look into.
What does it look like? A useful fact guy?
Yeah, you think? Yeah, what do you think? I know this, Rifkin? Get out of here, you schmuck!
I can see uses for that. But
okay,
all right.
Well, game.
1-0.
Yeah, good start for Neeb, and I mean, I wasn't sure how that was going to go. His initial attacks were a little bit wonky. They didn't get a lot of damage done. There was fear that PandaBearMe was going to dominate him, not just because of race, but because he came into this with that cocky, like absolutely cocksure attitude, saying, I've got this. So, I mean, I'm still not going to count PandaBearMe out. I don't think he played too terribly, but Neeb really, after he realized what was going on, got a hold of the game very quickly. Neeb's, by the way, a guy I feel that he's probably he is I'm gonna say like almost impossible to mind game. And there's so many of the games we've cast of him, like you never really see him misread things.
Very, very rarely. It's sort of weird that it is that way, because I feel like Neeb tends to play like a very standard style. Like he doesn't mix things up very, very heavily. He doesn't do super duper weird things. He does like adequate amounts of mix-ups. He doesn't go crazy with them. But he is like not so predictable and easy to read that you can just hard counter him easily. As soon as Take TV gets in the lobby, we can get started with Ruins of Endion.
Yeah, bit of an
every Protoss player loves.
This one's gonna be a little bit odd because again, the dynamic of Tempest certainly present themselves as a problem, and the map leads to it. But we'll see if it goes to that direction. Shoutouts to Flotch again for the weird donations, and we'll see you guys here in a sec. Alright, we're getting into game. It is map number 2, spawning in the bottom right side for the DreamHack Open Austin qualifiers. We've got the Red Zerg, PandaBearMe.
And in the bottom left, setting up 1-0, it's the blue Protoss player from On Fire. It's Neeb. But I want to actually make some notes about the bracket that has been progressing along really quickly.
Hang on, because you have something important to talk about. I'm just going to say this really quick. Okay. I just started reading the names Flotch has been donating with. Zest bisteps around Flotch. Flotch sits in Zest's lap. Like I don't know who Flotch is, but I'm starting to get a hint of an idea that he might like Zest, or she may like Zest, whomever Flotch is.
A little bit, just a little bit.
But go on, sir. You had something actually important to talk about.
Talking about the bracket updates, we already have a couple of people that have advanced onto the round, or actually the entire round of 8 for the winners bracket has been set. We had Scarlet and Jon Snow play in the winners bracket, and Jon Snow ended up beating Scarlet 2-0, so he's in the winners semis. Neeb versus PandaBearMe is obviously the match that we're doing right now. Masa versus Bales is happening right now. Bales managed to beat Semper. Ooh.
That actually, Masa versus Bales is a match I would have loved to have cast. Sorry,
I was actually looking for that match, but they got started before I could actually do anything.
I'm okay with this. This is not a bad match either. Like I'm okay with all of these, but what's interesting to me is the winner of that will play the winner of this, and that's going to look really good.
We're just gonna follow like this one series all the way from the very first round to the end.
I think that's every caster's dream when you get to ride such like an easy bracket and see how this goes. It's smooth. You don't have a bunch of downtime, but everyone still gets to see their crowd favorites through this. I will say though, this is gonna be interesting. I don't know how the dynamic of this is going to work. The DreamHack main stream is actually streaming now, so if you guys didn't see them yesterday, Tenchi and Zwig, I'm sorry if I'm saying the names wrong, I believe are casting again. You got Nathanius casting, I know Maro was casting with Beastie Cutie earlier, you got Wardy casting, you got the Gauntlet guys casting. If you go to Team Liquid, you're gonna find a match that you want to see, but if you're watching ours, I hope you've enjoyed this ride, and we will probably ride it out all the way to the finals, providing we're allowed and able to.
Yeah, and final bracket update that I also mentioned in the winner's side is that Huck actually ended up beating out State as well, 2-1, and is now currently playing versus Peely Peely, who's also made it all the way to the round of 8. So here's the thing, this is again like the last bracket update I'm going to mention. If Peely Peely does manage to beat Huck, and I will say his PvP looks pretty good, so that there's a chance of that. He plays versus Jon Snow in the winner's semis.
So I disagree. Only because Peely Peely's PvP was not impressive at all. And granted, you're going up against a god like Neeb, and that's what we saw, right? But
yeah,
his PvP was not looking so great. He's playing against Huck now. Huck's looking great, better than ever. He held really well versus Neeb despite losing. I know you're hyped because you want that best of 69 rematch, and they're like two of your favorite players. I just don't see that happening. But if it does, I will be pleasantly surprised and very happy to be wrong.
Yeah, but let's talk a bit about this game. We did have a Stargate opening from Neeb, something that he has known for doing as a good mix-up every so often. Going for the Phoenix opening, really going to shut down any potential Mutalist openings that are going to be coming out, or like a Mutalist transitions. But PandaBearMe not going for anything super crazy right now. He's just going for a nice 3-base play and really delaying any Roach Warren for a while, which does make me think he may have been thinking at some point about Mutalists, but still too early to tell.
Well, first off, the Stargate's actually in a bit of danger. He can't actually move over just yet because the Adept can't afford to give up the wall. It's a little bit awkward. But I was going to say, not only would it be bad, I think, to go for Mutus again with how horribly they happened to work last game, I think that this map just doesn't really encourage that playstyle either. I think you're going to see things like a potentially Tempest, right? Because you can abuse so much dead space in very many different locations to deny things. Maybe we go that direction with Protoss. But I feel like your best bet is pick one of those strategies that works that doesn't rely on the map. Like +1 Roach Ravager all in, for example, right? Like if you go for a move like that, maybe it doesn't always work against somebody like Neeb, but if you're worried and dancing about like terrain and things like that, just go with abusive strategies that, okay, they're all in, but they have a very high success rate.
Yeah, you know, I wouldn't hate something like that, but I think that this is sort of just like, the more that I watch PandaBearMe ZVP, like, I've seen him do this kind of, like, go into Mutalists and stick around on, like, Ling, and sometimes now he's mixing in, like, more Banelings and everything. I kind of just get the sense this is just what he wants to do in ZVP. Like, this is his ZVP style, is going for Ling Bling Muta.
I'm still not convinced that we're going to go that direction.
He's got to find a way to make it work. But there's double Robo coming out from Neeb, so he is going to get pumping out those Immortals.
So this is actually what I expected a little bit more when I started getting away from that Spire talk. And with the Hydra Din coming down, it might be Ling Hydra initially because you want to deal with the Phoenix. I think that's how a lot of these openers end up going either way, whether it's Phoenix or not. But the Lurkers last game, despite failing utterly and entirely because he lost a lot of his timing, still almost worked. Like, they tore down that third base. They were pressuring that fourth hard. Like, for PandaBearMe, he probably saw, like, oh, this almost worked. If I clean up this build and I do it slightly differently, maybe I can actually get a win with it. And for that reason, I actually don't dislike this. And especially, I mean, you consider what's going to be on the ground, right? Immortals, Zealots, Adepts, like, this is what the things you're going to see to deal with Lurkers. Not typically Disruptors. So you may not even have to deal with those again. Either way, the rocks are broken down on this side of the map. Neeb's not going to have to worry about anything anytime soon. He's got pylons over here to see what's going on. He's continually scouting with the Phoenix. And he's such a smart guy, it's going to be really hard to catch him off guard. I mean, if he even catches a whiff of a Lurker going down, he already built 2 Robos, he's already building Immortals, he's going to be perfectly fine for it.
Yeah, he's also doing a good job just putting on that pressure with the Phoenixes, which is something that I think sometimes gets overlooked as like, oh, well, you're supposed to be. Well, it's actually kind of hard to do, especially since he didn't really overcommit with a massive number of Phoenix, but he's already managed to get, I think, 11 worker kills, and pretty much majority of those, if not all of them, have been just through Phoenix pickoffs, and keeping PandaBearMe kind of on his toes, getting a couple more, even the ones on the gas geysers. And delay actually a bit of that mining of gas as PandaBearMe just has to use that extra APM, but PandaBearMe going for the rocks over the third, finally looking to try and get a bit aggressive. Neeb probably not going to allow it.
It's important that these rocks actually stay up. Not because he's worried about not having a wall off, but it just, again, it's the fact that you just can't simply run through.
Yeah, PandaBearMe just going to try and, it's as you were saying, like, pressure, and even doing a little bit of picking away at the rocks over at the front entrance. Gonna find another opportunity to move back in at the back entrance again. He may actually be able to get that very, very close to down, if not down, in time for the Hydros making their way to that side of the map.
Some people are asking about the best of 69 rematch reference. We'll talk about that more if we get to that match, guys. But TLDR, there's been a couple of instances of best of 69s, and those are not short casts. Now the rocks get broken down on both sides. This actually presents a pretty big problem for Neeb. Not because he can't defend one location. He can defend one location damn well. Defending two might be a different story. The Banelings are going to crash through the Zealots once again. They don't have speed, so I don't know PandaBearMe. I hope PandaBearMe is going to wait for speed, because his timing isn't so dependent on these Banelings. But there's force fields in play, and when we saw Puck go force fields versus Banelings, it made them the biggest waste of money in the game. It worked versus Pili Pili, and Hydra showed us, like, in two different instances on the same map with the same build, how in one time Banelings work and how one time Banelings don't work. And in this instance, I'm not convinced Banelings are going to work. There's a lot of sentries that have been warped in on two different fronts. And while this goes back to, like, the Immortal Sentry styles of the past, it's because it works.
It's really weird, because I was thinking, you know, I kind of like the fact that he's biding time for Baneling speed. He's actually baiting out Photon overcharges. But as you were saying, yeah, it's just been a reactionary warping of a ton of sentries from Neeb. And how does this work? He's making the lurkers now, so PandaBearMe may be able to just pressure with lurkers instead of anything else. It's not exactly like there's disruptors. He's got to move into the...
Is there no detection? Oh, I think there's a severe lack of detection here for Neeb.
There's one observer on the high ground of the third, but I don't know if he has a second observer.
It's in the other base, so yeah, he's only got the one observer at home. He did go for Oracles last time. He's gonna do it again. Baneling's actually managed to get through.
Are very late.
Yep, and PandaBearMe has got a big break on the front side. Now, most of the Banelings go down, leaving these Lings to get a surround on top of the Immortals, as the Zealots were removed thanks to the Banelings. The Lurks provide a little bit of splash damage, and the Phoenix count actually can't really get in here.
Well, Phoenix is trying to pick up whatever lurkers they can, but they're starting to get picked off by those Hydros. But at the same time, PandaBearMe are running a little bit dry.
The Immortals live. Only 4 went down in total. This actually isn't so bad, because Immortals, once their barrier comes off cooldown, can even contest Hydras. But right now, without any support, that's suicidal. He's going to move down for the break. The Revelation comes down. He will kill these lurkers, but it's going to cost him everything. GG gets called, and PandaBearMe will tie up the series 1-1.
Oh, Rifkin, I'm getting so happy. I'm getting so excited right now. Not because I hate Neeb, but just because I love a good series. And this is kind of becoming a good series. This is becoming a bit exciting to me, because we might be seeing that upset.
Maybe.
If PandaBearMe takes out Neeb, that would be enormous.
Well, we'll find out in a moment. We are going to go to a commercial break as we hop into game number 3. Ace match time. Don't go anywhere. We'll see you guys soon. Because I'm not here. Okay, we're back, ladies and gentlemen. Game number 3 as we step into the ace match for this best of 3. This is still the winner's bracket, so I want to emphasize that neither player is in danger of getting knocked out of the tournament. But they're very close to these qualifying spots, as it is the top of the winners and the top of the losers that will qualify through for DreamHack Austin. In the upper left side of Frozen Temple, we've got the red Protoss. It's going to be the red On Fire's Neeb.
And in the bottom right, we have the blue Zerg player. It's PandaBearMe.
Now, PandaBearMe, I want to point out, it wasn't exactly an easy win for him just now. He caught Neeb off guard, which was good. It's hard to catch somebody like Neeb off guard. But if Neeb didn't mess up those force fields, that may not have gone the way it did. So for him, I'm hoping he's still feeling a little bit on edge. He needs that stress to keep him like on point and focus on locking down this series. Because when Neeb won that game 1, it looked easy. When PandaBearMe won game 2, not so much.
Yeah, You know, it's one of those things where you always want to say, like, you know, such and such player did all these things really well. And I will say PandaBearMe did a lot of things really well, but that was a situation that Neeb made a mistake. Like, missing those force fields straight up, like, you can't really get around it. It was a bit of a mistake to not get those force fields in time to keep the banelings out. Maybe he was anticipating that he could let some of the banelings in, segment them off, and then pick them off, but it did not work out that way. So it's one of those situations where PandaBearMe can't really rely on just that happening again. So how does he move into a game where he doesn't want to rely on Neeb making a mistake? Because Neeb does not make many mistakes. Let's be real.
That is what makes it so scary. Because oftentimes when we're evaluating players, whether it's top-tier Koreans or mid-tier Masters, it's not based off of the cool moves they make, but about the mistakes that get had. And if you're constantly seeing somebody win games where they're making a lot of mistakes, that doesn't make them a good player. Either way, PandaBearMe is going to find, I think, a little bit of happiness in this map. It is quite open. There's a lot of engagement spots. If he's planning to do anything along the lines of banelings again, this is not an easy map to get those force fields on. So we'll see how this plays out. I gotta give some love to 905 though and ShookNasty69 for the resubs. I'm sorry that Twitch Alerts is not making sounds. It's making it hard to keep up with things. And Flotch donating under all these weird names is definitely throwing me for a bit of a loop as well. So I'm super sorry if we missed anybody today.
Really fast Adept makes its way across the map. This is almost going to be like the Reaper Adept that only encounters the Queens. Spore Crawler being made to just keep one of those drones alive for a little bit longer, but we do have a Twilight Council researching the resonating glaives. Did the Overlord spot it? Overlord did spot the Twilight Council, so he has some idea of what could be coming.
Alright, but he didn't see the chrono. He doesn't necessarily know what's going out of it. The scary thing is, though, when you actually... this is what's spooky. If you see a chrono boost on it, you at least know it's blink or resonating glaives. If you don't actually get to see the chrono go down on the Twilight Council, you're still question marking about Dark Templar, which are perhaps the most tilt-inducing way to lose.
Well, you know, what's even scarier is that there are a lot of builds that you go into these Adept pressures, and the follow-up is Dark Templar. So you have to be a little bit afraid of both, and here we're going to see it. Dark Shrine coming down. You called it, Grifkin.
Okay, so this for me is great for a couple of reasons. My favorite aspect of the Dark Shrine more recently isn't actually the Dark Templar themselves. Seldom do we actually see somebody get to go ham with it, right? It's like when you see a Widowmine win a game single-handedly. It happens, but not often. The Dark Templar have this really cool aspect where it's a more cost-effective Archon due to the new Economy Legacy of the Void than the High Templar version. So if your DTGs don't work, you have a fallback that's still actually pretty damn good.
So here's sort of an interesting interaction that I haven't really seen a lot of. The Baneling Nest is coming out, so PandaBearMe is sticking to his guns on this Baneling play, but here's the thing. Yes, the Banelings are going to be great against the Adepts, but you have to remember, Banelings can also kill off DTs without detection, which is kind of a nice thing if you guys get caught off guard by it.
That's not wrong. Like, that's a funny aspect to bring.
It's hard, but it's possible.
I feel like when you see manually detonated banelings, oftentimes it's in a bad way. so I hold my reservations on whether that'll be the case or not. But either way, banelings are a great way to chase off Adepts. Again, they deal bonus damage to Adepts. Adepts don't deal bonus damage to them. They're hard and not fun to deal with. He's going to actually let the Adepts transfer through, gets to the top of the ramp, and this actually sets up a great way to engage not just Lings but banelings. That spread is so sick.
And he's buying himself time also because the Adept Shades are going to be coming off.
This. He only segments a small amount of the mineral line instead of dedicating all of them. Now the banelings and the Lings have to waste time fighting these Adepts, while the other three possibly could have torn through the drone line. Instead, they come back to the front line to help their sisters. It's kind of working.
Yeah, PandaBearMe, I think, is going to be able to clean up, but he invests a lot into the cleanup.
Yeah, I mean, look at the resources lost. Way better for Neeb. And on top of this, that follow-up comes soon with what is possibly Dark Templar. We're waiting for the moment to see whether he goes for them or not. Because right now it is still just Adepts for round 2, and that's fine. But the Dark Templar, whether they use now or use later, their greatest strength is their element of surprise.
Yeah, there is a Spore Caller going up in the main base, so there's at least going to be preparation over there, but the Adepts are going to the third, and they're getting a decent amount of damage done over here, killing off a couple of workers.
Okay,
he wasn't back to clean.
He didn't let the transfer go through. I wasn't sure if he was going to go through to the main or not. The Adepts are still clumped, that they spread. I mean, the thing about banelings is, you know, you use them and you do lose them, and that's the problem when it comes to dealing with Adepts. If you don't get a clumped up chunk of Zealots, if you don't get a clumped up amount of Adepts, they're just not cost effective.
Yeah, there's a Stargate follow-up behind this for Neeb, so kind of surprising just because he's warp gate count, considering he's going to that third base now, is fairly low, sitting on just 4 gateways, and that's because he's actually adding on the double robo behind this, while the Adepts are just keeping PandaBearMe at home.
Yeah, it's a nice cancel on this Shade's not actually going to let that go through. I mean, for this game, I'm not at all surprised. I'm surprised to see the Dark Shrine. I'm not so surprised to see it not used after the way this game opened up. But I am now going back to that surprised use of the word, where we don't have a lot of anti-baneling things in play. Like, there's not a lot of really chunky units like Stalkers. We don't see a lot of Sentries. He made more Zealots. He made Adepts.
Yeah, I also like the fact that Neeb kind of, this is something a lot of pros players will do anyways, and they've been doing for a long time. Just bank up a couple of these Phoenixes and go for the surprise. Hey, I have 3 Phoenixes now. I'm going to actually kill Overlords. Not just like immediately reveal them looking for Overlords, but, well, PandaBearMe already has a Hydralisk out, and he loses an Overlord here and there, loses a drone here and there, but overall should have the defenses up in place.
Well, the links to the north are going to look for a way in, but Neeb actually blocks this off. Nice wall off set up here. In the meanwhile, Immortals are pumping out 2 at a time. Those are going to be fantastic to use against anything. Just not Lings, but even then, soaking damage. We've talked about this so many times, and the emphasis on the Immortals right now, I think for a lot of players, when it comes to, I guess, the quote-unquote balance of the unit, it's so much more about the health they have, the temporary shield giving them another 200 on top of it, than really their own damage. And their damage is massive. That can't even be ignored. But the essentially 500 health these things have made them very difficult tier 2 units to deal with. Yeah,
there is a lot of there are many good reasons why so many pros players are going so Immortal heavy these days in not only PvZ, but even PvT and even PV as well. But Phoenix is still moving around, and they do find a lot of potentially vulnerable banelings, but no, Hydros are there. Gonna have to go after just these Overlords, and I think he's gonna be perfectly fine doing that.
So I like the Templar Archives now. Not so much for the Archons, but for the potential Storms. Because whether you're dealing with Hydras or a lot of Lings, Storms can clean them up very quickly. Banelings, I actually couldn't tell you the dynamic of. Very rarely do we see these in the matchup. They become really popular after we saw Dark use them recently in Korea, but for the most part, like, Banelings have seldomly been used, sometimes for drops, sometimes for cheese. So I am very curious to see how Storm is going to affect these units, but they have less health than Zergling, so they will die very quickly if they sit in one. That much we do know.
They do die pretty quickly, but you'll need 2 Storms that the Banelings are running through, 3 if they have speed. If I'm correct on that. This is like old Wings of Liberty knowledge, because this would sometimes happen. But Neeb getting an eye on this army, gonna be preparing, and his setup. And I want to like note a very, very good spread. That is like so important. But he actually breaks the spread to deal with the army on the north side, and this could actually give PandaBearMe an opportunity to move in.
This is a bit spooky. Building-wise, we don't... Oh, we do have a Lurker deal. We just didn't have Lurkers yet. It must have just finished up. So there's the 9 coming in. PandaBearMe going for a very similar tactic to last game. But I think the greatest strength he had attacking Neeb in game number 2 on Runes of Endion was splitting Neeb's attention and focusing the attack on 2 different potential locations. The fact that this comes through 1, granted very wide choke, I think it's a lot more manageable for Neeb. He does actually have to leave a couple units up here to the north side, and Lurkers are going to start their advance. Their slow advance. Oracles are out and ready to go this time. Overcharges are going to get popped. 1 or 2 Lurkers may go down initially. Not even, excuse me. But Zealots charge in. Banelings looking to counter this, though. They do take out the Zealots from those front lines.
Well, Banelings trying to... The remainder of the Banelings not maybe getting the best connections, but there aren't a lot of Zealots left over. The Hydralisk now trying to get some good damage done, but the Archons, the Immortals, the Phoenixes, they're just doing way too much.
Yeah, he lifts the Lurkers out of the ground. He unburrows a lot of them. They're not able to fight. The Immortals clean up what little is left, and Neeb is actually on 4 bases while this went on, surprisingly. I mean, I knew the base was going up. I just didn't think he'd be able to actually saturate it and set it good to go. Neeb is in an absolutely fantastic spot moving forward. There's more Immortals coming out. The ones that lived, in fact, I don't think any died. 2 Immortals died, excuse me. But regardless, they are their barrier's going to come off cooldown, and now instead of being on the stark defense, he goes on the offense. And a new base for PandaBearMe was something he really needed. He's not going to hold on to this for very long. 49 army supply. Fear Dragon.
4th expansions are so difficult to defend on this map, but as you were saying, like, the aggression is just going to be his defense, because PandaBearMe has to make this defense work. He's definitely not going to defend his 4th. I don't even know if he can defend his 3rd.
Oh boy. Lings are going to go for the counterattack. There's an overcharge ready to go, so this won't get too much done. There's cannons at the other base, so really for Neeb, the focus is going to be on PandaBearMe's side of the field. Oh, the Zealot was in the wall, then he charged out. What a dick.
A little bit too battle hungry over there, but of course, the army for Neeb is now charging down those rocks, and this again, like, PandaBearMe has to get up some sort of defense. He's sitting at half the army supply, and it's not even a better army by many means. A lot of this is just Zerglings and Banelings, not even Lurkers or Hydralisks.
Well, the spread's pretty good, but the Zealots have no Banelings to counter them this time, so they get on top of the Lurkers. The few Banelings that do come in get wasted. GG gets called, and Neeb, ladies and gentlemen, will advance to the semifinals.
And he is going to end up playing versus the winner of Massa versus Bales. But of course, PandaBearMe is not out of it just yet. He moves to the losers bracket. He's going to be pretty far into the losers bracket, so he's probably got a little bit of time. He can wait, chill, and sort of figure out what went wrong in that series.
Yeah. Neeb, by the way, to clarify, a lot of people, we've been having this problem all day, so just, again, with these being back-to-back, I understand the confusion. If you end up actually watching everything, then you've seen Neeb qualify for DreamHack Tours. That's the DreamHack after Austin. This is for the DreamHack that's coming up in like 1 month's time. This is for DreamHack Austin. So Neeb is not qualified to this. Neeb is qualified through another DreamHack that just simply had qualifiers coincide at the same time as this one. So I hopefully that's a little bit easier to understand for you guys. But the winners bracket's coming up shortly. We will most likely follow Neeb. I know that Jon Snow and Huck are ready to go. I think they're actually already playing, so we're probably just going to sit on this match. Bottom side of the bracket has a lot of really good ones going too, so we may swap afterwards. But thank you guys for watching our coverage of the DreamHack Austin qualifiers. Again, I'm going to put this on stream because I know I shouldn't. It's bad business to tell people to go elsewhere, but look at these other streams currently going on Team Liquid, guys. You got Take TV in German, fine. English from the main DreamHack stream, English from Nathaniel's, English from Maro and BSTQT, English from, I guess, Ruff's probably streaming some games, and then English from the Gauntlet crew. There's a lot of other people actually streaming games, so in the downtime, or if you want to see matches we're not covering, check out those other streams. We are, however, going to go to a break, and when we return, hopefully we'll have some update news on what we're casting next. But thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you soon. Also get... Oh, wait, hang on. We had some ads. Or some donations. Hopefully this sends it back to the 5th dimension? Oh, okay. Okay, I don't know who read this one, but this is a clever Superman reference, so... It's my name backwards, but I can't read it backwards or it'll send me back. So, anyways, commercial break. We'll see you guys soon.